Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you an OP Rivers of Blood build guide for an Elden Ring. So, Rivers of Blood is one of the most powerful weapons. It did get nerfed, but it's still extremely powerful and it can bleed out a lot of bosses. Now if you're playing the new Elden Ring DLC, this is going to help out with that. So I'll be going over the full guide here, a little bit on how you'd want to play it and some recommended gear options. So I guess I'll first start off with the leveling. So this is for level 150, but don't worry, if you're lower level I'll be talking about what you should be having for stats at lower levels. So ideally we're going to get our vigor up to 30 first. That should be the first stat that you upgrade, and then we want to have our minimum stats to be able to equip the weapon. So this requires 12 strength, 18 dexterity, and 20 arcane. Arcane being the biggest investment here, but the nice thing is this mostly scales off our dexterity, although the bleed damage will scale off of arcane. Now I went with 26 mind and 30 endurance, but you can tailor this to your own specific needs. I found that much endurance is good for running around, dodge rolling, etc. And then 26 mind gives us enough with 3 cerulean flasks that will never really run out of mana. Although you can go with something like the Sacrificial Axe or the Sword of Milo in the offhand to help with your FP regeneration. Although it's not too bad. You can even go with higher amounts of your flasks there. But I'm also going 60 dexterity. This is to get the most out of our damage, as well as 10 intelligence, 15 faith. This allows us to cast Flame Grant Me Strength and one of the Dragon Rot spells. So we're only going to be using 2 spells, but Flame Grant Me Strength gives you such a buff to your damage that it's super worth using. I'll be showing that off in a moment. And the 20 arcane. This allows us to use the Dragon Communion Seal, which requires 10 faith, 10 arcane. And it scales mostly off of our faith, and it boosts our Dragon Communion. So if we use the Dragon Rot, it's going to buff that up. In the offhand, I have a keen Nagakiba. I find this to be a really effective weapon. I also use the double slash, as it's very similar to Corpse Piler, so you can kind of inflict bleed with this as well. You don't have to go with this in the offhand, and you can even use the Yuji Katana. This is just a longer version of the Yuji Katana, so that's why my strength at 18. If you're not using this, have your strength lower and put the rest of the points into dexterity. You would want to have it roughly at 12 strength to be able to equip that. As for the armor, go with whatever you can to get your poise at least 51. 56 is another nice cutoff, so I'm using the Helmet of Solitude. This is from the DLC, but there are some comparable helmets you can get in base game. Armor of the Knight, Bull Goat Gauntlets, this gives us extra poise, and then the Beast Champion Greaves, that gives me 56 and medium rolls. We want to really make sure we have the medium load there, and 56 or 51 poise is ideal, but earlier in the game you can go with a lower amount. And as for the talisman, I'm using the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman. This increases our physical damage negation, which is huge just for survivability. The Carrion Filigree Crest lowers the FP consumption used by our Corpse Piler, so this is really nice just to save your FP a little bit. Lord of Blood's Exaltation will give us an increased amount of damage whenever we trigger bleed in the vicinity. And also for helmets, it's probably best to go with the white mask if you can get that, because it's going to boost your damage as well whenever there's blood loss in the vicinity. The Okina mask can also provide somewhat similar benefit, but the white mask here, which you can get pretty early in the game, it's a nice one because it's going to boost our bleed spell. So you would want to equip that. I'm not going to for the purpose of this video. But finally, I also have the Shard of Alexander, which is going to increase the attack power of our skills. We typically want to be attacking with our skills as much as possible. And a little bit of a bonus, if you equip raw meat dumplings, don't eat them. They're going to poison you. If you equip it, your mimic will actually heal itself with them, and it can't be inflicted with poison. So that's really useful. Now, a general rule of thumb for this, we'd want to have our Flame Grant Me Strength up, but I'll show you the damage. Like just for a normal attack, we can hit around 519 damage. And then with our weapon art, one press of it gets us almost enough to take out an Albinaric. But when we buff ourselves with Flame Grant Me Strength, we got another challenger here. These ones are a little bit more powerful, and you can take them out with 3 hits. But we'll go up to this one here just to give you an idea of the increased damage. That's 1600, and we used to be hitting for about 1000. So it's a big buff to the damage. And what's nice is the Flame Grant Me Strength also increases your normal attacks like that. So we get a flat out huge buff to our damage. Like you can see 700 damage there, and it was regular 500. So it's massive. Flame Grant Me Strength does a lot of good for us. Although we will be running out of our flasks pretty quickly, you can go with a bit more mind and improve it that way. So Flame Grant Me Strength is a huge buff for us. Now another strategy we can do is if you run out of flasks, or if you run out of the ability to do Corpse Piler, you can run in with jump attacks, because they deal a ton of bleed damage. So you can see there I went for the jump attack, And you can use the Nagakiba. I find that the reach is really good. It'll usually trigger bleed pretty fast if you're using the two-handed weapon. So if you power stance two of the same weapon type and press L1, you do this attack here, which is nice just for bursting them down. If you don't have the ability to do corpse piler. So it can be a very powerful way of getting damage in. I'll also switch back, so you just see what it looks like. Also, if you want to, you can put a fire imbuement on the Nagakiba too, and then your jump attacks will be buffed up with the Flame Grant Me Strength. So that can be a good option too. But as you see, the jump attacks with this is pretty powerful. You also have the chance to potentially hit with your Nagakiba when the Rivers of Blood may not hit. So these two weapons may not look like they go together, but they actually kind of do. But again, the Yuji Katana also works here very well. So both of these are great. Now I'm just going to talk a little bit about the other spell that we have there with the Dragon Rotten Breath. This is a really useful spell. It requires 15 faith, so the same faith investment that we need to be able to inflict ourselves with the Flame Grant Me Strength. That ended up knocking him off the cliff. That was not my intention. But what we want to do with the Rot Breath is inflict the boss. Typically we're going to be using Scarlet Rot against bosses because it's going to deal tick damage over time. But the nice thing about that is you can inflict Scarlet Rot and then play a little bit more defensively because they're going to be taking damage from it regardless. So, oh, that guy jumped off the cliff. But both of these weapons combine together to make a very powerful build in Elden Ring. So there it is. That is a super powerful Rivers of Blood bleed build. And if you found this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below. Let me know your thoughts on the Elden Ring DLC. I think it's incredible. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.